I have decided that I'm going to spray with the airbrush. Well, what else would I spray with? And I'm going to use this. Well, I'm thinking of it. One of the viewers was wondering if I was going to do a review on this thing. And, what, in other words, some people are wondering, what is my complaint about this? Well, this one here, this metal one, I like it because it's very stiff. When I move it into a position, it stays that way. Now, I want to be very careful here when I release this. Okay, so obviously this one has glued up nicely. Very carefully here now. Probably you viewers are laying bets as to whether I managed to, get this painted without breaking it. Anyway, what I want to show you about this is it doesn't want to stay where you put it. There's too much friction involved, slippage involved, and you try and plug the. This is just it's just a copper wire, okay? And the idea is good. And when I saw pictures of it on Amazon, I thought, hey, that's probably pretty good idea. And I suppose for some people maybe it'd work out okay. But I'm disappointed because it just doesn't hold things the way I'd want it to. It's not as positive. Whereas, like I say, this kind here, you move it, and it stays the way you move it. Just adjust it a little bit and it stays there. Up a little bit and it stays there. And I do believe this thing was under $5, and that included a magnifying glass that hooks into a center one here somewhere. I think I've taken that bracket off. Oh yeah, here it is here. It used to go onto an arm that would twist around, and you could. Now, I just want to clarify something here, and that is that I realize that Amazon.com is selling the exact same thing now for, what is it, $10.99? Now, when I bought it, it was probably about, 15 years ago, maybe not quite, and it was sort of like you might call it a door crasher special. It was at a place here in Winnipeg called Princess Auto. They're sort of like Harbor Freight. I look on them as the dollar store for tools and hardware. Yeah. Anyway, enough about this thing. Let's see if I can carefully airbrush these pieces here. They are just so fragile. Okay, I realize that I'm going to be making a mess on my nice new pine board here. Well, I guess it's not new. Left over from the big clock project. And there's lots more down in the workshop where this came from. Yeah, that big clock project that we did a year ago now. It was so important. And I never finished it. I felt kind of bad about that I never actually completed the clock with a proper dial. But you know what? It ran. It kept accurate time. At least it kept accurate time until the weight hit the floor. But it actually kept very good time. And I'm still thinking about that. Remember I was talking about an escapement mechanism that would involve a pendulum, but the second hand would move steadily across the dial instead of, jumping across around the dial. I thought of a way that I could do it so that the second hand would move steady, smooth, sort of like my new Bulova watch does. Yeah. You will have undoubtedly noticed that I have a tendency to talk about what I am thinking about at the time, and it might have absolutely nothing to do with the model Bismarck. Now, you'll notice that this one here has a second hand that pulses around in time with the pendulum. It's in my grandfather clock, and it has what's known as a royal beat. In other words, it ticks once per second, and that's the way the second hand, goes around the dial. Now this one here, you'll notice that the second hand is more or less smooth. I don't know how many pulses per second this one is, but it's probably pretty fast. you sort of see what appears to be some sort of vibration going on there, but I'm not sure. Now, this sort of technology is not new. I had a Bulova Accutron in 1966, and I think it had a pulse of about 1/360th of a second. In other words, in a second, it pulsed ahead 360 times. Anyway, I'm giving you a lot of detail here you don't need to know. What I was thinking about is I want to make a grandfather type movement that has a pendulum, and the second hand will move around the dial slowly. And I think I know how to do it. I just have to, tinker around and get at it. Now, the reason I'm taping down the edges here is so that when the airbrush comes in at an angle, it's not going to hook underneath and make this thing flap up and down. At least that's the plan. Okay, that should work. A little spot up here. Okay, now we'll put our parts on here and I'll show you what I got in mind. Okay, so it'll stick right here at this end. It'll stick over here. I don't think that the airbrush is going to blow it over. Okay, now the idea is that I can rotate this to spray all the way around. And then after I'm convinced that I've done as good as I can do this way, I can flip it over and stick it on the other way. I might have to get some more tape because this is going to be covered with paint and it's not going to want to stick. Anyway, we'll see how it goes here. Well, let's stick the macro lens on and take a close look at some of these others here. And then I think we're going to have to call it a day. Now these last two, as with, about a month ago I did this, and I was kind of worried that maybe I put a little bit too much on. And you can see there where it flooded into the grate. And I think it was just, is that from the paint or is that the plastic? Let's take a look at the other one. I may have put too much paint on. Now you can still see a little bit of detail there, but I think I put too much paint on. Anyway, thanks for watching, and all being well, we'll see you again tomorrow.